Earth was a beautiful place. The sun shone brightly over the cities, and people went about their daily lives with smiles on their faces. In this peaceful time, technology had advanced rapidly. Hover cars zoomed through the skies, robots helped with chores, and families spent evenings enjoying the wonders of their world. The air was filled with laughter and the sound of children playing in parks. It seemed as if nothing could disrupt this harmony. Dr. Mira Khan stood on the balcony of her lab, looking out at the bustling city of New Chicago. She was a brilliant scientist known for her work in energy and space technology. Mira had always dreamed of making Earth a safer place. Her lab was filled with gadgets and screens that displayed various data about the universe. Despite her busy schedule, she always found time to watch the stars, hoping to uncover their secrets. Commander Jake Reynolds, the head of Earth's Defense Force, was Mira's close friend. He was strong, brave, and always ready to protect the planet. One sunny afternoon, Jake visited Mira at her lab. He brought along a surprise, a model of the latest military spacecraft. "Look at this, Mira. It's designed for deep space exploration," he said, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Mira smiled as she examined the model. "It looks amazing, Jake, but I hope we don't need it anytime soon. I want to focus on making life better for everyone here on Earth." They chatted for a while, enjoying each other's company. Jake told Mira about the recent advancements in defense technology. "We have the strongest military in the galaxy, thanks to the new energy shields and weapons. I feel confident we can handle any threat," he said proudly. Mira nodded but felt a hint of worry in her heart. What if something unexpected happens? We can't always be prepared for every situation. Jake reassured her, saying, "We'll face whatever comes together just like we always do." As they talked, Mira noticed something strange on her computer. It was a series of signals coming from deep space. At first they seemed random, but the more she analyzed them, the more she felt something was off. "Jake, look at this!" she said, pointing to the screen. "I'm getting unusual signals from a distant part of the galaxy. They don't match any known patterns." Jake leaned closer, his expression turning serious. "What do you think it means?" "I'm not sure," Mira replied, frowning. "But it could be something significant. Maybe even a warning." Jake scratched his chin, considering her words. "Let's report it to the government. They need to know." Mira nodded, but deep down she worried that nobody would take her seriously. People were too busy enjoying their lives to think about possible dangers. That evening, they prepared a report, detailing the strange signals. They sent it to the top officials in charge of Earth safety. Days passed, but there was no response. The government seemed uninterested in what Mira and Jake had discovered. Frustrated, Mira continued to study the signals. She even gathered a small team of scientists to help her analyze the data. They worked late into the night, surrounded by screens and blinking lights. Meanwhile, life on Earth continued as usual. People went to work, kids went to school, and families enjoyed weekends at parks and beaches. It was a time of joy, but Mira couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. A storm on the horizon. One afternoon, while the sun set behind the city skyline, Mira and her team noticed a significant change in the signals. They were growing stronger, almost as if something was approaching. "We need to act quickly," Mira urged her team. "If this is a warning, we must be ready." But in the world outside, life went on. People celebrated festivals, and the government focused on improving infrastructure. They couldn't imagine that the peace they enjoyed might soon be shattered. Mira felt isolated, trying to warn a world that seemed blind to the danger. As she watched the stars from her lab that night, Mira whispered to herself, "Please, let me be wrong." But deep inside, she knew that the calm they all enjoyed was just the calm before the storm. A storm that would soon change everything on Earth. The peaceful days on Earth were about to come to an end. The sun rose over New Chicago, casting a warm glow across the bustling city. But this morning felt different. A strange tension hung in the air, and Mira Khan couldn't shake off her unease. She had been analyzing the mysterious signals for days, and now they were more intense than ever. Something was coming. Meanwhile, Commander Jake Reynolds was in the Military Command Center, reviewing defense strategies with his officers. "We must remain vigilant," he reminded them. "We don't know what we're up against, but we must be ready for anything." His words were met with nods of agreement, but in the back of his mind, he couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. As the day went on, the skies above Earth turned dark. A thick cloud of uncertainty filled the hearts of the people. Children played in parks, unaware of the storm that loomed just beyond the horizon. Adults went about their daily routines, but a low hum of anxiety spread through the air like wildfire. Suddenly the world shook as if the ground itself was angry. People stopped in their tracks, looking around in confusion. It was not an earthquake, but something far worse. Mira was in her lab when the alarms blared. She rushed to her control panel, her heart racing. The screen flashed with warning signals, incoming objects detected. Jake received the news just as he was about to leave the command center. His phone buzzed with urgent messages. "Commander, we have multiple unidentified ships entering Earth's atmosphere," an officer shouted. Jake's heart sank. This was it. The invasion had begun. As the alien ships descended, they looked like enormous dark shadows against the sky. Their shapes were unlike anything seen before, sharp, jagged edges with glowing lights. The ground shook again as they landed, creating craters that sent dust and debris into the air. Panic erupted in the streets. People screamed and ran, trying to find safety. Jake quickly organized his team. "We need to respond immediately. Mobilize all available forces." He grabbed his headset and communicated with nearby military bases. "Prepare for defense! We are under attack!" In her lab, Mira watched the chaos unfold on her screens. The images were horrifying. She could see the alien ships firing beams of energy that destroyed buildings and sent people flying. She felt a rush of fear and anger. "This cannot be happening," she shouted, her fists clenched. The aliens emerged from their ships. They were tall, with green skin and eyes that glowed like fire. Their leader, Commander Zarkon, towered over his troops, his expression fierce and confident. "We have come for your planet," he boomed. "Surrender and you may live." Jake and his team faced the aliens head-on. The military fired back with everything they had, missiles, energy blasts, and whatever weapons they could muster. But the aliens were prepared. Their technology was far more advanced. Jake watched in horror as his soldiers fell one by one. The aliens moved quickly, using their agility and strength to overpower the human forces. "Fall back! Retreat!" Jake ordered, trying to save as many lives as he could. But it was too late. The aliens were relentless. They advanced through the city, destroying everything in their path. Buildings crumbled and fires erupted, casting a terrifying glow over the chaos. Back in her lab, Mira felt helpless. She had warned everyone, but nobody listened. "I need to do something!" she exclaimed, desperate to help. She remembered the hidden technology she had discovered. If they could activate the ancient force field, it might protect Earth from the invaders. But how could she get everyone to believe her now? As the sounds of destruction filled the air, Mira called Jake. "We need to activate the force field. It's our only chance," she urged. But Jake's voice trembled with urgency. "Mira, we're being overwhelmed. I can't promise anything will survive if we don't fight back." With determination, Mira replied, "I'll gather a team and start working on it. You just hold them off for as long as you can." Jake felt a spark of hope. "I'll do my best. Just hurry!" As the battle raged on, the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The invasion had begun, and the humans faced their darkest hour. With each passing moment, the situation grew more desperate, but Mira refused to give up. She would fight for her planet, even if it meant facing the aliens head-on. The clock was ticking, and every second counted. The chaos in New Chicago continued to unfold as alien forces swept through the streets. Smoke filled the air, and the cries of frightened citizens echoed all around. Mira Khan felt a surge of determination rising within her. She couldn't just stand by while her city was destroyed. She knew there had to be a way to stop the invaders. In her lab, Mira rushed to her computer, her fingers flying over the keyboard. She had spent years studying energy technology and knew of an ancient force field hidden deep beneath the Earth's surface. If she could activate it, it might create a protective barrier around the planet, stopping the aliens in their tracks. But she needed help. Mira grabbed her phone and called Jake. "Commander Reynolds, we need to activate the force field now. It's our only hope." "I know, Mira, but we're being pushed back," Jake replied, his voice filled with urgency. "The aliens are relentless. We can't hold them off much longer." "Then we need to gather a team and work quickly," Mira insisted. "I'll meet you at the military base. We can figure out how to get to the control center for the force field together." With that, Mira grabbed her emergency bag, which contained essential tools and a small energy generator, and hurried out of her lab. The streets were filled with chaos as people ran in every direction. Mira steeled herself, dodging debris and keeping her focus on reaching the military base. As she arrived, she saw soldiers scrambling to get their equipment ready. Jake stood at the entrance, barking orders and trying to organize the remaining troops. "Mira! Thank goodness you're here," he exclaimed, relieved to see her. "Let's get to the control center for the force field," Mira urged. "It's located underground beneath the old power plant." "We need to act fast!" Jake nodded, gathering a small team of soldiers to accompany them. "We'll cover you, Mira. Just lead the way." They navigated through the damaged streets, carefully avoiding the ongoing battle. The alien ships hovered overhead, firing energy beams at anything that moved. Mira's heart raced as they approached the old power plant. It loomed ahead, covered in debris and surrounded by a heavy atmosphere of fear. Inside, they descended into the darkness of the underground control center. Flickering lights illuminated the dusty walls, and the air felt heavy with uncertainty. Mira led the team to the main console, which was covered in old wires and dusty screens. She began to work immediately, brushing aside the dust and turning on the power. "Is it still functional?" Jake asked, watching her closely. "I think so," Mira replied, focusing on the screens. "But it's been years since anyone has used it. I need time to figure it out." Outside, the sounds of battle grew louder, and the soldiers tensed, ready for any sign of the aliens approaching. "We can't hold them off forever," one soldier said, fear creeping into his voice. Mira felt the pressure mounting as she typed commands into the system. "I need a few more minutes," she urged, sweat beginning to form on her brow. Finally, the main screen lit up, displaying a series of complex diagrams and controls. "I've found the activation sequence," Mira exclaimed, relief washing over her. She quickly began inputting commands, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "If I can just get this online—" Suddenly, a loud explosion rocked the building. The team ducked for cover as debris fell from the ceiling. "We need to hurry!" Jake shouted, fear evident in his voice. Mira's heart raced as she completed the activation sequence. "Almost there! Just a few more seconds!" With one final keystroke, the screen flashed with a bright light, and an alert beeped loudly. "The force field is activating!" Mira shouted, adrenaline surging through her. "Is it working?" Jake asked, peering over her shoulder. Mira nodded, her eyes wide with hope. "Yes! It's generating a protective barrier around the planet." As they watched the screens, a shimmering light began to envelop the Earth, pushing back the invading alien forces. The aliens, caught off guard, faltered and retreated, their ships colliding with each other in confusion. "It's working! We did it!" Jake yelled, his voice filled with excitement. The soldiers cheered, relief washing over them. Mira felt a rush of joy mixed with disbelief. They had found hope amidst the chaos, and now Earth was protected by the force field. But the battle was not over yet. They still needed to figure out how to stop Commander Zarkon and his forces once and for all. With determination in her heart, Mira looked at Jake. "Now we need to plan our next move. We can't let them regroup." Jake nodded, his resolve stronger than ever. "We will fight back, and this time, we'll win." As the shimmering force field enveloped Earth, a sense of relief washed over the team in the underground control center. They had managed to stop the immediate threat from the invading aliens, but Mira Khan and Commander Jake Reynolds knew this was just the beginning. They had to prepare for the next wave of attacks. "Now that we have the force field, we need to strengthen it," Mira said, her mind racing with possibilities. "If we can harness more power, it will hold against their attacks longer." Jake nodded, his eyes focused. "Let's start by increasing the energy input. We'll need to divert power from nearby sources. How long will it take?" Mira glanced at the control panel. "If we can work fast, maybe an hour. But we need to act quickly before the aliens regroup and figure out what we've done." The team sprang into action. Mira and a few technicians worked on the control panel, inputting commands to redirect power from the city's energy grid. Jake and the soldiers prepared for any incoming threats, standing guard near the entrance to the control center. Outside, the atmosphere was tense. The aliens, realizing their attack had been thwarted, began to regroup. Commander Zarkon was furious. "They have activated a force field," he shouted to his officers. "We must find a way to disable it, or we will never conquer this planet." The aliens began to scan the area for weaknesses in the shield. Zarkon knew that time was of the essence. "Prepare the ships for another attack. We will use our most powerful weapons to breach their defenses." Back in the control center, Mira was deep in concentration. She was aware of the danger but focused on the task at hand. "We need to boost the energy flow," she urged her team. "If we can make the shield stronger, it will hold against their next assault." Suddenly, an alarm blared, startling everyone. "They're coming!" a soldier shouted, pointing toward the screens showing the alien ships approaching. Jake's heart raced as he shouted orders. "All hands on deck. We need to defend this position. Mira, can you hold the shield while we prepare for battle?" Mira took a deep breath. "I can maintain the shield for now, but I need more time to strengthen it." She worked diligently, pouring energy into the force field, which began to shimmer even brighter. The sound of alien ships filled the air, and the ground shook as they approached. The soldiers positioned themselves near the entrance, ready to fight for their lives. "Stay focused!" Jake yelled. "We can't let them through." As the first alien blast hit the force field, a loud crackling noise echoed through the control center. Mira winced at the intensity of the energy beam slamming against their barrier. "It's holding, but we need to keep powering it," she shouted. Outside, the alien forces unleashed a relentless barrage of energy blasts, aiming for the point where the shield was the weakest. "Fire! Fire!" Zarkon commanded, his voice filled with anger and determination. Mira felt the pressure mounting. She could see the shield flickering as it absorbed the energy attacks. "I need more power!" "If we can just boost it, can we reroute power from the defense systems?" Jake asked, looking at Mira. "Yes, that could work," she replied, her eyes brightening. "If we sacrifice some of our defensive capabilities temporarily, we can strengthen the shield." "Do it!" Jake commanded, trusting Mira's judgment. "We'll hold them off as long as we can." Mira quickly redirected the energy, feeling a rush of adrenaline. The shield glowed brighter, absorbing the incoming energy and redirecting it back at the attackers. "It's working! We're pushing them back!" she exclaimed, excitement building in her voice. But the aliens were not easily defeated. Zarkon realized the shield was holding and changed tactics. "Target their energy sources! We will destroy the power grid and the shield will fall!" The alien ships aimed their weapons at the nearby power plants, sending blasts of energy toward the vital structures. The explosions rocked the area, sending shock waves through the control center. "They're attacking the power plants!" one soldier shouted, panic in his eyes. Jake felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. "We can't let them destroy our energy sources! We need to split our forces. Some of you stay here and protect the control center. The rest of you, with me, will defend the power plants." Mira nodded. "I'll keep the shield up as long as I can. Just make sure you protect the power sources." With that, Jake led a group of soldiers out of the control center, ready to face the aliens head-on. The tension in the air was thick with uncertainty. They were fighting not just for their lives, but for the very future of their planet. As they exited, Mira focused on maintaining the shield, her heart racing. She knew they were facing overwhelming odds, but she also knew they had a chance. The shield of protection was their hope, and she was determined to keep it standing strong. The battle raged outside the control center as Commander Jake Reynolds and his team raced toward the nearby power plants. The air was filled with the sounds of explosions and the cries of soldiers. The alien forces were relentless, determined to destroy the energy sources that powered Earth's defenses. "Stay sharp!" Jake shouted to his troops, adrenaline pumping through his veins. "We can't let them breach the power plants!" As they reached the first power plant, Jake saw the destruction the aliens had already caused. Flames flickered against the night sky and smoke billowed around them. Alien ships hovered above, firing down at anything that moved. Jake's heart raced as he surveyed the situation. "Form a perimeter," he commanded. "We need to protect the entrance. We can't let them in!" The soldiers quickly took their positions, weapons at the ready. They exchanged nervous glances but remained focused. "They're coming!" one soldier shouted as the first wave of alien soldiers approached, their weapons glowing ominously. Jake felt the weight of leadership pressing on him, but he pushed it aside. "Remember the shield! It's protecting us! Fight for our planet!" The first alien soldiers charged forward, their eerie forms silhouetted against the flames. Jake raised his weapon and shouted, "Fire!" A barrage of bullets erupted from the soldiers' guns, striking the aliens with precision. The battle began in earnest. Inside the control center, Mira Khan worked tirelessly to maintain the force field. She could see the battle unfolding on the screens. "They're holding their ground!" she whispered, her heart racing. She felt a wave of hope, but she knew they were still in danger. Suddenly, the alarm blared again. "We're losing energy from the shield. one technician yelled. "If we don't stabilize it soon, it will collapse." Mira's hands flew across the controls, adjusting the power inputs as fast as she could. "I can't lose it now." "Not when we're so close," she murmured, sweat beading on her forehead. Back at the power plant, the fighting grew more intense. Jake and his soldiers pushed back against the aliens, firing with all their might. "Don't give up. We're stronger together," he yelled, rallying his troops. Just then, one of the alien ships unleashed a powerful blast aimed directly at Jake. He dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the explosion as it struck the ground where he had stood. "We need to take out that ship," he shouted, his voice firm.
On it!
A soldier replied. They quickly set their sights on the ship, aiming their weapons. 1, 2, 3, fire! Their bullets soared through the air, striking the ship. It shuddered and began to smoke.
It's working.
Keep firing,
Jake urged. Mira, still monitoring the situation from the control center, noticed the alien ship faltering on her screens. "Come on, guys! You can do this!" she whispered, feeling a surge of pride for her team. As the alien ship began to spiral downwards, it crashed into the ground with a thunderous explosion. The impact sent debris flying, scattering the nearby alien soldiers and giving Jake's team a crucial advantage. "Push forward! We can win this!" Jake shouted, emboldened by the victory. Outside the control center, Mira could see the tide beginning to turn. "They're fighting back! Keep it up, everyone!" she urged, focusing on the shield's stability. "If we can hold the shield long enough, we'll win." The alien forces were now in disarray, their attacks losing coordination. With their commander distracted, Jake seized the moment. "Let's go! Forward!" he roared, leading the charge toward the remaining alien troops. As they fought their way through, Mira continued to strengthen the shield, pouring every ounce of energy she could into it. "Almost there. Just a little longer," she said to herself, sweat dripping down her brow. Finally, after what felt like hours, the last of the alien soldiers retreated, their ships fleeing from the force field that protected Earth. Jake and his team stood victorious, breathing heavily but filled with triumph. "Did we really do it?" one soldier asked, disbelief written across his face. Jake raised his weapon in the air, a smile spreading across his face. "Yes, we did it! For humanity!" Cheers erupted among the soldiers as they celebrated their hard-won victory. Back in the control center, Mira watched the screen, her heart swelling with pride. They had protected their planet, and together they had fought back against the alien invasion. As the sun began to rise over the horizon, casting a warm light over the battlefield, Jake looked around at his team. "We stood together and fought for our home. This victory is for everyone on Earth." Mira smiled, knowing that their actions would be remembered for generations. They had not only defended their planet, but had also shown the galaxy the strength of humanity. And though challenges lay ahead, they were ready to face them together, united and strong.